All right, so after scaling and joining all the objects together to make this one object, we had issues. There were a lot of duplicate vertices that we eliminated. There were a lot of holes in the mesh that we filled, and most of them were filled. However, there were some that weren't, and we need to start figuring out some of what's going on with that. So, kind of taking a look at this mesh, we can see that there's some, well, there we go. This mesh, this section, this area seems to consist of multiple planes. So it's kind of hard for Blender to know how to fill in this hole when there's sort of overlapping planes and it's not exactly sure what the hole is. And we have that going on in a lot of different areas. So there's a few different ways we can deal with this. I mean, I could literally just go in here and delete the faces and then maybe make some decisions about which edges to keep or get rid of, right? Hold down control, select a couple of those uh, edges and delete those. Okay. Now that that's the case, it becomes a little bit easier for me to work around the edge and select and fill this in by pushing F, and voila, problem solved. Maybe. Let's just take a look here. If I grab this, oh, so I still got an extra line there. So let's delete that, get rid of that vertex. What I just did is fine. When you're dealing with a situation where there's just that's only happening once or twice, that's great. Uh, but maybe we need to consider some shortcuts because, as we can see, this is happening quite a few times. And if I go through, even if I'm very systematic, I'm going to miss some. So this is where we talk about some of the tools that we potentially have. Over here, I've got this 3D print box or tab on my screen. It's not something that's in set up in Blender by default. To get that, you go to your preferences, and if you do a search for mesh, it should be right there. Just check the box, and then this 3D print option should show up. Now, within that, there's a bunch of tools, which also some of the same tools are actually here under mesh. There's these cleanup tools that I talked about a couple of videos back where we fill the holes or where we can delete loose vertices or where we can merge vertices by distance. So some of those same tools are accessible here as well. But one thing that's nice is it's just kind of a convenient panel. I can push check all, and it'll give me some stats. And it's telling me right now there's 165 non-manifold edges. It's telling me that there's 254 intersecting faces, and so on and so forth. So let's take a look and see if we can just fix an item or two here. So I've got all that going on. If I go here and I just tell it to make manifold, and then we check all, I now have no manifold edges. Now, not everything is fixed. I still do have some issues that I have to look at. I have intersecting faces still, not as many, but they are there. So I'm not out of the woods yet, but we're at least a far cry better.